But then he bought him out, and so that was, then he
And Grandpa
built
played
the new
pinochle.
store right away, practically.
So, as you were going in your, you had the store. Did you go on a lot of vacations with the kids as you were, as a family, or?
Oh, yeah, took him wherever we went, because he didn't leave the store hardly at all for anything except fishing.
And going down to Pike County.
Well, that wasn't for a long
I
time.
guess not, maybe.
Mm-mm.
Nile belonged though.
Hmm?
Nile belonged to that, so it wasn't that long.
Well,
That Pike County business been going on a long time. Dick got in on it as a son of your dad, of his dad, so they had it before Dick was too old. But anyhow, that was fishing that he liked. And of course, a lot of your grown-up life was to come down
Yeah,
here
that
to
was
Calico
later
Rock
life,
to
yeah.
go fishing here.
What year did you start coming down to Arkansas?
They would meet Ted's
long,
brother,
long
Dick,
time ago.
Big Dick, I call him. At Calico, because that was the
Pat was still,
same distance from Fort Worth.
Pat was
as
still
ours was.
young, because she came with us one time and went on the fishing trip. And she must have been about 10 or 11 years old.
And you came here because it was a good halfway point
Mhm.
between Texas and Illinois.
And it was good
She
fishing.
came to Calico
good
Rock
fishing.
mostly, and then they finally got into this.
His brother was quite a outdoor, and I think I have a piece of paper from the newspaper. When he died, he got a big write-up in the Fort Worth paper about what a good sportsman he was and all the things he did. And he was a good organizer and leader, and so he'd bring down about 6 or 8 people, and we'd bring down about 6 or 8 people, and we had some nice
Doc Man
parties
used to come with them a lot.
down here. Everybody went fishing.
Did you ever go on the lake?
Mm-mm.
Just
Didn't even
always-
know the lake was here hardly,
Not till they bought.
till we bought that lot up there.
So did you bring down your whole family down here when you came? Or was it
There
just
was
Grandpa
no-
coming down and going fishing?
Just no,
No.
those two.
Just
He
he and I.
and Elsie and Doc.
Well, sometimes it was Marguerite and Ike, sometimes
Right.
it was all kinds of
Yeah.
people.
But they came without kids.
You came without the
Yeah,
kids.
just that one time Patsy came along.
Where did the kids go?
Well, they just weren't home yet. I mean, they were pretty well gone by that time.
So everybody was out of the house
Pretty
by the
much.
time you started coming down.
Well, no, 'cause Patsy, like I said, she was along a little bit. Well, they stayed with friends, or they stayed with somebody.
Stayed at a babysitter?
Not a babysitter, no. Because we'd only come for about 3 days or 4 days at the most.
When did you start staying down here?
That was in the
Years.
70s.
Years are no good. I
Yeah.
don't.
Well, see, we came in 76, so you were here in about 72 or
Okay, where you guys at?
something like that.
Oh, okay.
Well, it was before, when we knew LMA and Welby.
Yeah, that was 73.
Yeah, so it was before that we were down, because we had them come, and they came and brought their whole family,
They're in town.
so.
You guys getting hungry?
Yeah, I'm beginning to. Did Merle go with
Dinner.
okay, Merle went with them.
So when did you decide that you wanted to get a place down here?
Well, we were coming home from fishing one day, and we always stopped at the White store, and the gal that was running it was part Danish, so made a big impression on me, and so we'd stop in there and chit chat, and
Melanie and Duke.
she'd
they were
say,
all Duke and
don't leave without going up and seeing the lot we just bought. We just bought a lot right up the hill, just a few minutes away. So we went up there, and we got looking around the other part. There was nothing, nobody owned anything. He had just subdivided it. And so we liked this space where you could see the dam. And so we bought it.
What year was that?
Well, I said it had to be about 72, 70,
71?
no sooner than 71, and that, because we went to Alaska in 73, and then after that, those people who went to Alaska with us went to visit her in Arkansas, and,
We had company
and
all the time after that.
but I think it was between 71 and 73, somewhere in there.
She bought the lot.
Yeah.
And we just intended to put our trailer on it. That's what we bought it for, our mobile trailer.
Mhm.
And then we started bringing the little kids. Well, I knew that wasn't gonna be big enough for.
Now, who was running the store? Or had you guys, when did you guys, transfer the store to
Well,
Dick?
we'd only come for 3 or 4 days. We
Yeah.
never stayed a long time in those days. We just stayed a short while.
Like a long weekend.
Yeah. And then we started coming down with the kids and, well, before we bought the lot, what we did was
Well, Peggy was married.
we
She had
started
those little
to
kids.
go into the campgrounds all the way up the line, and I said, this isn't right, this isn't right. And Ted would say, this is do fine. I said, no, this won't do. And finally, when we got down here, I said, this is it. Because we could put the trailer right there where they could go right out to the beach right ahead of us, and we didn't have to pack up everything and go to the beach with them, because they were right there where the beach was. And I said, this is what I've been looking for. And that's our introduction to North Fork Lake, and then we went up and bought
Because
the
I
lot.
remember Peggy, had you guys parking something there when you were tiny.
And I know one time Jennifer was so bad, I just about pulled my hair out. And so I said, finally, one lady came over to me and says, I had a child like that once, meaning that we've been noticing that she's been misbehaving. And she said, what I did is just took him in the shower and turned the shower on him. So I said,
At
then,
that time, there was a shower house there.
Jennifer, I said, well, if you don't change, I'm gonna just take and throw you in the lake with all your clothes on. Oh, you wouldn't do that, Grandma. I said, yes, I would. I'm gonna throw you in that lake with all your clothes on. She was perfectly good after that. So she knew what she was doing, and she got better.
Now they don't let you camp down there anymore.
No, they don't. I think that's silly.
Because then whose idea was all those 4 trailers? Was that, the guy that owned
Hmm?
whose idea was it to put those 4 trailers on that spot where they are now?
Well, we bought the lot, and then Carolyn and
Yeah.
they bought it, and they bought the trailers.
Who did?
Carolyn and her husband bought the trailer.
Yeah, but who bought yours? Your same people, there were a bunch of nothing trailers. And there was an old lady living in the one we lived in,
Yeah.
it was terrible.
Yeah, but it was the spot we wanted.
Yeah,
It wasn't the trailer. And had we known we were gonna stay so much in it, we would've had a better one too.
yeah.
But we just thought, well,
No,
for
Eddie
the
didn't
summer,
think we were gonna stay either.
Where did you buy the trailer from?
the guy that sold us the lot,
What was his name?
Crawford.
Crawford. Crawford
So
Edition.
he sold trailers too?
Well, no,
He was
picked
just,
them up.
he got thinking about it.
So was it a used trailer that you bought, or was it,
No,
no,
it was
it
new?
But see, he owned that piece of ground where all the overnighters or
Right.
the trailers stay now. He still,
And he
or
owned
the
some of the
family
land where
owns it.
this, where we lived there. Bought from him.
And so he sold you the trailer,
Yeah.
and then, what year did you
We came in 76.
came in
And
'76
some
about the
old
trailer?
lady had a trailer there and it was and then we began immediately.
Now, how did you decide that you were gonna,
Well, because we
come
come down and visited with Shirley and Ted, and she let us park our trailer on her grass.
Mhm.
And after, then time, this was after Susan died. So, and then in a couple of years, then I said, well, we can't keep using her electricity and water, so we need to do something. And so, well, some circumstances took care of some of that, so it happened that in 76, the spring of 76 was my last year to teach school. They said I was out, and Eddie.
did you get retirement from that?
Huh? So, yeah, I get retirement from that, but thank goodness I got what I did get, even though it wasn't so much. But, then he said, right now, it was just like kidnapping me, out we go, down to Arkansas, and he wanted to build an underground house there somewhere, but he got talked into this trailer thing and immediately made a big room on the side. And then bit by bit, things enlarged.
When did you move down there full time?
76,
So you bought it and moved in
Yeah.
and lived there year round.
yeah. Eddie said, well, we weren't gonna do that for a while, I'm going to Florida, you know.
She never did like live there half the year and in Florida.
No, we did go to Florida in the winter for a month or two after that, because he wanted to go to Florida. Then he kept talking about he wanted to move to Florida. And I said, well, then, one year we took Jackie down to Florida, Key, I don't know where. And she had to had to catch a plane to go to Spain. And so we went to this orange juice company, I think might have been, I don't remember now. And they were enlarging the company, they were gonna put in frozen orange juice, freeze drying. And I said, went to the man, I said, would you like a good man that knows about freeze drying? And yes, you could use a guy like that. I said, no, Eddie, you got your chance. You put in a resume to this company and you can come down there and live, but this is the last chance you have. Because the kids were at a certain age of school and didn't want to do it. So, of course, that was fine, but he was never a man to keep records or write a resume or anything, so he never continued with that idea of putting the resume in and getting a job down there. I said, well, you do it, this is it. So of course he never got down there to live. But he still wanted to go down 1st of January, slipping, sliding out of Memphis. But anyhow,
When did you start living there? Summertime, like half the year.
no idea. You went to
You probably didn't live there.
You went in the 70s, though, didn't you, once in a while to venture out?
Yeah, we went to venture out.
Did you buy the trailer in Arkansas before you went to Arizona?
We went to Arizona first, I think.
You went to Arizona first. And how did you decide on going to Arizona
Well, a girl.
and not Florida?
A lady from
That was only part-time
Chinoa
also.
sent me one of their programs,
From Venture Out?
yeah, and I said, wow, there's everything I like to do. I'm gonna go see that, so we had our trailer, and we went out there and fell in love with it, and have liked it ever since.
And did you ever go to Florida?
Yeah, we went to, the first year we retired, we went to Florida. The second year we went to Texas. The third year we went to Arizona. And the fourth year was no question. They just didn't offer the stuff as much as what we wanted. And that's the way it was.
And where were you living in the summer then? In Chinoa?
In Chinoa for a while.
Yeah.
And then in Salem.
Then her children started coming down, and pretty soon the whole family was down. And
All your kids came bouncing around into the big pool.
When did you decide on like taking the grandkids to Europe and on vacations and things
well,
like
I
that?
wanted to take them. See, I had a ceramic business in Chinook, and I made pretty good money on the ceramic shop. So I could use that any way I wanted. So I loved my grandchildren, so I wanted to share it with them. So the money came from that, and I wanted to take them before they were 12, because it's a lot cheaper. So the first year we took Elmer, and He took 2 and I took 2. And we went to Spain. And then we took the Eurail all the way to Denmark and back. And so then that went real good. And so I took the next batch, I took John and Jeff and Jennifer all at the same time. And we took, a friend of mine brought her granddaughter. And so we went. That was kind of a catastrophe with Jennifer, but she was always a bit of a problem. And got a heart of gold.
So what about Greg and,
Well, then, I hadn't taken Greg and Marcy yet, so took them on a cruise. 3 or 4 day cruise, wasn't a very long one, but he didn't like it at first that he had to wear a suit for supper.
who, Greg?
Yeah, Greg at night. But eventually, he was so proud, you could just see him like a peacock sitting there. He was so proud of himself when he got dressed up, and it's nice to subject your kids to proper eating, proper stuff, so they can do these things, because otherwise, when you go on these trips, if you don't know how to handle them, you feel like you wanna get back in the closet and maybe look at you, but if you have some idea of how to eat together, and I think the important thing for American families is to sit down at a table and eat together. In fact, I read an article in the paper,
That's the biggest object
you
in
know,
the
at least once a day.
Nancy's kids, they would
Because that's
sit
when
at
you
the
can,
table.
that's when you can talk and see what's on their minds and what's going on and so on, so try to get a time in the winter anyway, winter time when you can eat together.
Did you guys eat together as a family when you were growing up?
We did.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we did every.
Did you do breakfast, lunch, dinner, or was
Yeah.
it?
Well, lunch at school, but otherwise,
Yeah.
Saturday we ate lunch together. But always together and always up and did, take our turn at whatever job we had, the dishwasher, we alternated washing, wiping, putting away and so on.
My brother and
There
I.
was just enough jobs for each of the 4.
When, you're talking about doing your jobs, when did you get a dishwasher? When was that?
And not till after we were married,
Dishwashers didn't come in our growing up days.
they weren't, I had one in my new house that I built, but that's my first one.
As you were growing up, I mean, what thing came out, invention or whatever, that once you got it, you were like, you know, this is phenomenal.
Yeah, radio,
Radio?
yeah.
Well, the radio you had all your life, right?
Yeah,
So, I mean, that's not like you didn't have it and then all of a sudden you got one and it was a
Yeah,
big deal.
we got one, we were so tickled that when we got that radio, it was just about this high and it was rounded at the top, and we'd all gather around that radio and listen to those stories.
oh, and also they read the funnies to us on Sunday morning too. So everybody was on their stomach and watching the paper. The 10 high songs were very important.
But I can't remember any other invention besides the automobile.
Well, let's see. Well, probably the refrigerator, because the apartments had a refrigerator, we had the icebox in the house.
And we went to see that house, Merle and I, a year or so ago. And it's still just as good as it was then,
Which one?
the one in Chicago. The one where most of our time was spent.
One where when I was in 5th grade, we moved to that
8241 St. Lawrence.
1st grade.
And I was on the wrong side of the street to go to the school I wanted. If I lived here, I could go there. So I gave one of my uncle's names and addresses who
Well, that
lived
was
in
your
the
high school, that was.
school district, and I could go
Oh,
to
the other one?
that high
When she
school.
got to high school, she did
The
that.
grade school was just down at the end of the street.
There she tried to change her name.
Change your name.
Well, she wanted to be called Peggy or Marguerite or
Yeah,
something.
I wanted to be,
She didn't
I
want to
tried
be
one year
Shirley.
with Marguerite, but it didn't work. So.
What do they call you when you were growing up?
Shirley,
Why do they do that?
because my mother said that my dad could not correctly pronounce Marguerite.
So why did they
Who knows?
Why did they name you Marguerite?
I don't know.
Well, it's just like all of Nancy, she's sorry now that she did it, all of her kids you're using their second name.
So,
And she said, no, she knew it then, but she knew now she could turn it around and made everybody's first name be important.
So they always called you Shirley, huh?
Or jump one, or,
sweetheart.
let's see, what was the other one? Oh, we'll come back. She was a little plumpy. The little sister, she reminded me, maybe how we looked at Jackie when, in our family, and we were like, yeah, your family, our
And,
family.
that was the era of the dancing, what do you call that?
In the twenties, no, that was
The
the
20s, that was
flapper,
the flapper
Yeah,
era,
wait a minute.
and all my older cousins, younger
what do you
age,
call that?
they all dressed like that and went to the dances where they played all these,
Why won't that name come to me? It will.
you miss that.
The cha-cha or the,
No,
No.
Oh, it'll come. And during the time we lived in this
You
nice
know, where
house, my mother made root beer in the basement,
made root beer in the basement?
so she,
In the same kettle that she boiled the clothes in.
big brass
Yeah, it was a big brass.
boiler.
So as you guys were growing up, you probably didn't have like bottles of pop. And
Yeah, there was strawberry pop on the market and grape pop.
But it was too expensive.
you didn't like have it in the refrigerator at home. I mean, you
No.
pop one open and drink it.
Only on holidays, like
But we
Memorial
didn't make-
Day.
Always made root beer, so we always kind of
Did
like.
you go to the ice cream parlor? Did they have those?
My mother liked to buy ice cream too, and they would have a metal container like this that fit the quart box of ice cream, and then she'd make it back that ice, put the carton into this frame, and then they park it down in there and make that ice cream really solid in there, so you get her money for it. Yeah, do that a lot. And another thing they had in the day ice cream was called rainbow cones, and you could get this, mostly sherbet, about 6 or 8 colors, and you get this cone, all the rainbow colors, and you get that for a quarter. That was good ice cream.
I couldn't.
And I made a lot of ice cream.
Wait to
also.
get a dime when I was little and go to the bakery and get the lady fingers. Desserts, they had gold lady fingers. And
And
then
we had lots of ice cream.
I would save till I got a dime so I could go up to the bakery.
Did you get an allowance when you were growing up, or?
We must have, I don't, there wasn't any money.
It might have been a quarter, I don't know much about
We
that.
had enough to go to the show once a week, and we had enough, like I say, once in a while I get those
Did you have any
baby fingers.
jobs when you were growing up, like, you know, delivering newspapers, mowing lawns,
I
or
sold magazines.
sold magazines?
Shirley babysat, I don't know when she started, I babysat my last summer after graduating from high school, I took a job on the north side. I take streetcar from way south to way north, and that's where I got my, saved finally $25 out of that, and that's what I decided to go to school with. Had to babysit this little 9-month-old boy, and then Ray found out I could cook and clean, and so she got her money's worth for $5 a week.
Well, I used to work,
You did.
after school, I'd go babysit a little boy. And then she found out I could cook too. And, when she'd have a party, she'd have me make the desserts and things. And,
You got $3 a week.
no, I got 2.5,
Well, I thought,
because it was only for a couple hours.
yeah.
And, but that was just a few blocks away too.
No, we didn't have to do much work when we were not till we're out.
But that was a lot of money. I mean, that would,
$5 a week, that's,
You know, I thought it was pretty well off, but
well, you could buy hose, and you could buy, and that's when they first started, when I was in high school, they first started letting you charge, you know, buy it, pay for it later. Now, I never did that, but all my girlfriends did, and boy, did they get a bunch of new clothes, and then all of a sudden they got the bills. And that was a different story. but I didn't have that because I was always Scotch. And when I worked at Sweetin Company, I put my money aside to send my mother to Europe, to Denmark.
Yeah.
And, if she wanted to go real bad. So I put my money aside and, so I never
That's a
really
big
spent.
star in your crown.
Yeah, but I never really did.
Did she go to Denmark
Oh, yeah.
by boat?
Yep.
Oh,
I'd probably take a month.
and her last.
Or a week. I guess a week. They probably had
her
steam.
Ride home was the last boat out before the Nazis shut it off.
Oh, really? So she went before the war.
Well, it was started over there, but
1939 is when it
yeah,
started.
they
So
were-
she go in 1939?
about then, yeah. No, she went
She was
She-
gone
she
while you
got
were
home.
married.
in time for me to get married.
So that's-
Why, she wasn't around when your dad was helping making jello and all that
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
So
I don't think she
1939.
was at your wedding.
Huh? Yes, she was, and she had a lot of her friends come and help, and they made a lot of things. They only had a week or so to do that,
Yeah.
to figure out what else to have besides my jello. I was determined I was gonna have the jello that you fold in with whipped cream.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it was so good, and then, with all the mixed fruit in it,
Cause I know Edward was helping your.
so all day
Dad.
we made jello. Elmer and Ted were busy all day making jello for the wedding. So, but that was my favorite food, and I said, you may as well have what you like at a wedding. They didn't have weddings like they did nowadays. I got the picture with
Well,
me,
some of them did.
because,
Larson's had weddings like.
Angie wanted a picture of my wedding, and so we had, Merle made some copies, and I brought one. And I had 4 bridesmaids, and we had 4 men stand up for him, so it was a pretty good wedding.
Who paid for the weddings back then?
We did, I guess, because my folks didn't, there wasn't anything, we fixed the food.
So let's say you go to the church,
Mhm.
you have your ceremony.
Mhm.
After the church, where do you go?
Downstairs in the basement of
You
the
go in the
church.
basement of the church, that's where the reception is.
Mhm.
We had a reception in a hotel.
You did? Well, you were ritzy because you were working, so I wasn't working. So, we just, paid the minister, and nobody
You were
complained
working
about
at
what they
Swift's.
had to eat. And I think weddings nowadays are atrocious. They just spend too much money.
Oh, it can be big bucks.
And I like your wedding, one of the best ones, and Beth's was one of the best ones. And those are outstanding in my mind for weddings. Peggy didn't have one. Beck didn't have one.
Barb had 2.
Barbara's had 3, I think.
Not 3.
Oh,
You were beside
yeah,
Merle.
she married this Bob a few years ago.
Oh. I guess I forgot about her marrying him, or I didn't
And
even
that
know
first
she
guy
married
she
him.
married was a
Puerto Rico.
soldier or Air Force guy down in
Puerto Rico.
Puerto Rico, so we went to that. And,
That just lasted a year.
but her nicest wedding was the Chanel wedding. But that wasn't real fancy either. We went downstairs to eat afterwards and had a little more look of a wedding maybe than mine, but of course, there's probably nobody left alive that was at my wedding. Yeah.
I was. Not many. Well, who we could mention? Irene.
Yeah, I really was, I need to call her too. We get on the phone and talk like this about she was my close friend in high school. And we get on the phone and talk about
Who's that?
my friend Irene
Where does she live?
in Washington. But
Washington
she
State?
comes to
Yeah.
Arizona in the winter time. Because we're there. Her husband died a year ago. He grew up in the same high school that we went to.
So when you were growing up as a family, what did everybody drink? Everybody drink water,
Water and milk.
milk?
I didn't drink anything alcoholic until we were in San Diego working, you know, I told you that year. And then during that time we were there, Elsie Mann from Sonoma wanted to come and live with us because her husband went overseas.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, sure, you can come and live with us. So every night she'd come home about 4:30 and she'd had a beer and Ted would